Have you ever poured your heart into something meaningful only to watch a video of a dancing dog get 90,000 views while yours got zero? Frankly, I'm only human. I get discouraged, angry, sad, and occasionally hopeful. I sometimes ask myself, why am I doing this? Why do I keep sharing these habits of historically conscious people? Does anybody really care? A friend told me, you should post these on LinkedIn. The content is important. People need this. I resisted. LinkedIn, I said, isn't that where everyone polishes their resume and humble brags about promotions? But I was wrong. It's not just a business hub anymore. It's another version of Facebook, full of highlight reels, outrage, and distraction. So I posted anyway. My history video landed between two other posts. One, a Jack Russell Terrier spinning in circles, and the other, a montage of office besties dancing and tossing paper. Both had tens of thousands of views. My video, 0 clicks, 17 impressions. What in the world is an impression anyway? I don't know. Please don't explain. It was discouraging. But then I realized this is exactly the point. History is human. So am I. I bring all that, my doubts, emotions, and perseverance, into how I see the past. So today I want to talk about the sixth habit of historical consciousness. I'm going to talk about it anyway, even if no one's watching. Embracing humanness. It's about facing history and ourselves with honesty and grace. I'll share 4 simple ways this habit can help us understand both the past and our crazy present world. And if you stick with me to the end, I'll tell you something redemptive that came out of that humbling LinkedIn experiment. When we practice historical consciousness, we reach a moment of surrender, a realization that history is not a cold collection of facts or dates, but a living encounter with humanity itself. To be historically conscious is to embrace humanness without apology and with eyes wide open. That means recognizing that history is a personal, relational, and participatory thing, and that the goal of all of these is understanding. When we see that, something changes. This habit has a civilizing power too. It makes us more patient, more humble, and a little kinder, things that social media can use. Reductionism, treating history as a science experiment, is a dehumanizing method. It turns people into victims of inevitable progress. For decades, some Marxist interpretations reduced the French Revolution to the rising bourgeoisie overthrowing the nobility. But when historians actually looked at parish records, letters, and diaries from the time, they found something more human. Peasants hungry, artisans demanding dignity, nobles afraid, priests torn by their conscience. Belief, emotion, and honor mattered as much as economics. Only when they restored humanness did the revolution make sense to historians. First of all, history is personal. History is personal because it's made by people, for people. Every law, letter, and painting carries a human fingerprint. To embrace humanness is to resist treating the past like a specimen under a glass. History's makers were not data points. They were souls striving, failing, imagining. When we forget that, history dies. And when we remember it, it breathes again. Take Martin Luther. When we read his journals, we don't just meet a monk from 5 centuries ago, we meet ourselves. Many textbooks reduce the Reformation to politics or printing presses, but behind it was a young man tormented by his conscience, fearing judgment, longing for grace. The Reformation didn't begin in Parliament, it began in a man's soul. When I see Luther not as an icon, but as a human being, anxious, hopeful, conflicted, it reminds me that history is never abstract. It's personal. His story mirrors our search for meaning, our wrestling with doubt, our longing for forgiveness. History is relational. It's not a monologue, it's a conversation between the living and the dead. When we read the words of someone long gone, we're not dissecting them, we're listening. Embracing humanness means entering that conversation with humility. We notice what has changed, but we also hear echoes of shared humanity, our fears, our loves, our questions. Scientific analysis can describe, but it cannot converse. Understanding comes when we treat the past as a partner, not a puzzle. One of my favorite reads is David McCullough's John Adams. It sent me straight to the letters between John and Abigail Adams. While John was away in Philadelphia or in Europe as an emissary, Abigail had to manage the farm and the family. Her famous plea, "Remember the ladies," was not a slogan. It was a wife reminding her husband that liberty should reach beyond men in smelly wigs. John's teasing reply, in which he promised not to give up masculine systems, shows, yes, affection and irony. Their letters reveal that history lives through relationship, love and intellect, argument and respect. And here's the beautiful part, we can still answer them. When we read Abigail's words, we can whisper back, "Yes, Abigail, we're still trying to remember the ladies. Yes, John, liberty still takes courage." That's what it means to say history is relational. We listen to the dead, and in a mysterious way, they listen back. Third, history is participatory. We're not just outside observers of history, we're in it. Every historian, every reader, every citizen participates in shaping meaning. Even when we try to be objective, we bring our own culture and blind spots. It's not failure, it's humanness. Our task is to participate responsibly, knowing that what we study, quote, and remember becomes part of humanity's collective memory. Ken Burns' documentaries come to mind. They remind us that history is not preserved under glass, it's recreated through memory. His slow pans, oh, I love those, across photographs. I'm going to try to do that in B rolls on my own videos. His patient narration and the voices of ordinary people bring us inside the story. Whether he's telling jazz, the Civil War, the Dust Bowl, or my personal favorite, baseball, he invites us to enter as participants, not spectators. He honors emotion and ambiguity, the pauses and tears textbooks leave out. And nowhere is participation more sacred than in the preservation of Holocaust survivor testimonies. From early oral historians with reel to reel recorders to today's 3D digital archives, these efforts embody an ethic of presence, to listen, to witness, and to remember it really happened. Recollection is an act of moral participation, a promise that memory will not vanish. Those who preserve these voices remind us that history lives not in a museum, but in relationships between the speaker and the listener, the living and the dead. Through remembrance itself, humanity participates in its own redemption. Fourth, understanding is the goal of all this. All of this, personal, relational, participatory, leads to understanding, not mastery, not certainty, understanding. Understanding walks the middle path between objectivity and subjectivity. It means seeing people of the past by their own standards of sanity and goodness, not by ours. Oh, heroes and villains exist, but to understand them, we must resist turning them into symbols, labeling them hastily. History's job is not to canonize or cancel, it's to comprehend. When Abraham Lincoln delivered his second inaugural address in 1865, he modeled that kind of understanding, amazingly modern in the way he did things. He modeled that kind of understanding in real time. The war was nearly over, yet he spoke with humility, not triumph. Both read the same Bible and pray to the same God. Lincoln refused to treat his opponents as simple. He entered the tragedy with empathy, not arrogance. That humility is what we need today. Understanding others on their own terms replaces pride within compassion and turns history from accusation into reconciliation. We can understand the culture that killed Lindau Man in England without resorting to making human sacrifices fashionable again. We can understand Lincoln's compassion without condoning slavery. We'll unpack that moral tension next time in Habit 7, Responsibility. Let me offer a closing reflection and some words of redemption. To embrace humanness is to accept that history is not a set of answers, but an ever deepening relationship with ourselves and with those who came before, and with the fragile hope that understanding makes us wiser. When we read, write, or speak of history, we're not handling fossils. We're joining a long conversation of human beings, learning, failing, falling, remembering. That's why embracing humanness isn't just another habit of historical consciousness, even though I may be presenting it that way. It's really the heart of the whole enterprise. You remember that LinkedIn post that got 0 views? I thought it was a total flop. But later that day, something unexpected happened. A friend, something unexpected happened, like that bug that just came along. A friend I hadn't talked to in years sent me a message. He just happens to be the head of a small New England publishing house that produces beautiful history books. And he messaged me on LinkedIn. He said, quote, "I love the 7 habits idea. Let's transcribe the talks and put them into a book. The perfect stocking stuffer for Christmas. What say ye?" A book contract. From 0 views to that. It made me laugh and it made me grateful. Because that, my friends, is what embracing humanness looks like in real life. We try, we get discouraged, we feel invisible, and then something unexpected breaks through. Someone we've never met or someone we thought was long gone sees what we're doing, and the story takes a turn we never could have written ourselves. That's history, too, full of quiet, redemptive surprises that remind us we're not alone in the human story. So, if you're ever feeling overlooked or wonder whether what you do matters, it does. The world may scroll past your best efforts, but somewhere out there, someone's listening, and the ripple you start might become part of history's next chapter. That's the lesson learned from LinkedIn. That's why I keep showing up here, imperfect, persistent, improving, I hope, and well, still human and flawed. Until next time, remember, to embrace humanness is to stay in the conversation. That's the heart of historical consciousness and the heart of hope.